If you're a beginning sewer, you may be nervous about sewing with knits. Maybe you think you need fancy equipment. While it's true that items like a serger, or at least a walking foot, make it easier, you can manage just fine without them. This tutorial, sponsored by allfreesewing.com, will show you how. First, you will want to use a ballpoint or stretch needle. These aren't as sharp as regular needles, so they won't snag on your fabric. Second, you should use a polyester or polyblend thread. This type of thread will stretch more than cotton. Third, you'll need to change your stitch settings. A zigzag stitch with a narrow width will allow the thread to stretch without breaking. Some machines also come with a stretch stitch. The symbol looks like this. It's perfect for sewing knits. Finally, be aware that your knit fabric will stretch more in one direction. Take note of this and cut the hat so that it stretches from one end of the brim to the other, not up and down. Also, pre-wash and machine dry your fabric before cutting. Let's get started on the hat. You'll need to place the cap piece on the fold as shown. I recommend cutting the two pieces for the cap separately, because if you try to cut through 4 layers of knit at once, it tends to stretch and your edges will look sloppy. You'll be using the same fabric to cut out 2 cap pieces and 4 large ear pieces. You'll use the 1/8 cut of fabric for the ear inserts and for the brim. Cut the brim piece to 4½ inches tall. The small size should be 12½ inches wide and the large should be 13. Cut the ear inserts out of the same fabric as the brim. Layer the ear inserts on top of the large ear pieces and pin in place. Then top stitch the pieces together using the narrow zigzag stitch. You want the zigzag points to be on both fabrics to minimize fraying. Now place the other ear pieces on top of the sewn ones, right sides together. You're going to sew with a 1/4 inch seam around the curve. Leave the bottom side open. Once it's sewn, remove the pins and turn right side out. The following steps will be the same for the bear cap, except we won't use pipe cleaners in the bear ears. Okay, so you should have your ears sewn and turned right side out. Now we're going to add clever pipe cleaner inserts so that the bunny ears will be poseable. Take a pipe cleaner and bend it in an oval that mimics the shape of the sewn ear. Snip it to the same length as your ear and twist the ends together. We're going to sew right over it. The wire inside is no thicker than a pin and it will be encased in our stitches. Slide the pipe cleaners inside the ears. Place the ears at the top of the cap where you'd like them to be, then fold downward and pin. Make sure that the pipe cleaners aren't poking past your seam line. The cap piece with the ears should be face up. Lay the other cap piece on top, right sides together. Pin in place. Sew around the curved edges, but don't sew the bottom shut. Remove the pins and turn right side out. Now onto the brim. Fold the brim piece in half so that the two short edges meet. Sew them together with a 1/4 inch seam to form a tube. Now fold the bottom edge upward and in half. You should have a fold along the bottom and raw edges at the top. Position the tube so that the raw edges are now at the bottom. Then, insert the cap into the tube. Make sure the raw edges are lined up evenly all the way around. Pin the top layer of the tube to the front of the hat, and the bottom layer of the tube to the back of the hat. In other words, you need to be able to insert your hand between the layers, so don't pin all of them together. Continue pinning all the way around. Then, insert the cap onto the arm of your sewing machine. It should be wrapped around the machine, so that you are only sewing through one pinned layer at a time. Sew along the bottom edge with a 1/2 inch seam. Remove all the pins and fold the brim down. See, sewing with knit isn't so bad after all. To get the free pattern for this project, visit www.madebymarzipan.com and search for Woodland Cap.